So these are the 34 music theory terms no beginner should skip when starting out on the piano. The danger of skipping these terms is that you could get confused when watching various online tutorials on platforms like YouTube and even in some other private lessons you might be engaged in. We'll be summarizing all these terms from the very basics, then we're going to be progressing to much more complicated terms as we proceed in the video. Feel free to skip around to your area of interest if you're already familiar with some of all these terms. So the first term we'll be starting with is the term key. Keys are simply all these white and black repeating objects you see on the piano. They are divided into two colors, that is white and black. The whites are essentially 7 in numbers, while the black are 5 in numbers, making a total of 12 keys all together on the piano. Group of all these 12 keys is what we call an octave, which repeats itself all through the piano. Each of these 12 keys have a name coined from the first 7 letters of the English alphabet A to G. The first white key by the left side of the 2 black keys is named as C, followed by D, followed by E, followed by F, followed by G. Now at this point, remember in music, the alphabet ends at G, that is A to G. So we start again from A, then B. The black keys have 2 names, coined from the immediate surrounding white keys. When moving from the left to the right, also known as sharping, the black keys are named as C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp. Or when moving from the right to the left, also known as flatting, the black keys are named as B flat, A flat, G flat, E flat, D flat. Hence, these are the name of all the keys on the piano, and this is actually what repeats itself all through the piano. Musical notes. Musical notes are simply the sound produced when each of these keys are struck on the piano. We have various kinds of musical notes based on the number of beats each of these notes are held for. Among many, I'm just going to be listing 4 most common of them all. First is the whole note, which is essentially a musical note held for 4 beats, like this. The second is the half note, which is essentially a musical note held for 2 beats, like this. The third is the quarter note, which are musical notes held for a beat. Lastly, 8 notes are musical notes held for half a beat, like this. Musical notes are the building block of all rhythmic patterns we dance to. Every key on the piano produces musical notes of varying pitches. Hence, pitch is simply how high or low the sound of a musical note is perceived by the ear. Grace notes. Grace notes are simply false notes. They are notes or series of notes played very briefly before landing on a target note. For example, let's say I want to play key G, which is this, and I play some couple of notes before landing on this actual note. Those couple of notes I play very briefly before landing on this are what we call grace notes. So for example, instead of just landing on G like this, I'm going to do something like this. You can see that I flipped through these 2 keys before landing on this. So these 2 keys are my grace notes. So you can use any key, just playing any number of keys before landing on a specific key. Those couple of keys you played before landing on that target key is what we call grace notes. Grace notes are essential because they help add that extra flavor to our play. Melody. To make things very simple, melody is just simply playing the lyrics of a song on the piano. For example, this is the melody of What a Friend We Have in Jesus. Also, here's the melody of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Harmony. Harmony is simply the sound produced when multiple musical notes are played at the same time. For example, these are harmonies. The harmony accompanies the melody and makes it much more pleasing to the ear, and only few musical instruments produces harmony, like the piano and guitar. Timbre is the unique quality or personality of a musical note. It's what differentiates the sound of different musical instruments, even though they play the same notes. Let me use this simple example to demonstrate what timbre is to you on the piano. I'm going to play this series of musical notes, that is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, okay? The popular 8-note solfege that we are all familiar with. So I'm going to play these notes with the piano, with the trumpet, and with the violin, and you're going to understand the concept of timbre better. You'll notice that despite all these musical instruments are playing the same notes, they still sound different, and that difference is what explains the term timbre. So you can see, although all these musical instruments play the exact same notes, they still sound different, and that difference is what explains the term timbre. It's the unique quality or characteristic of a musical note. Intervals. Intervals are simply the distance between two pitches or keys on the piano. In layman's word, it is the total number of keys you pass through from a certain key to get to another destination key. So for example, the interval between C and G on the piano is simply the total number of keys you pass through to actually get to key G. So the interval between C and G is simply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this interval is what we call perfect fifths. Also, for example, the interval between C and E is 1, 2, 3, 4, because we actually pass through 4 notes to get to key E. And this interval is called a major third. So in summary, intervals are named based on their various distances. So here's a full table of all intervals and their various distances. Alright, at this point you're already finding value, you're already learning one or two things. Why not encourage your creators by simply liking the video and subscribing to this channel, as it keeps us motivated to keep making helpful videos for your benefit. Alright, thank you so much for doing that, and I really appreciate it. So let's return back to the video. Scales. A scale is formed when series or group of musical notes are separated by a specific order or pattern of interval, also known as the interval formula. We have various types of scales, including major scales, minor scales, the blues scales, pentatonic scale, chromatic scales, and many more. However, the most common of them all is a major scale. We won't be going into much details into all these scales because this is just more or less like a summary video. Chords. Now, chords are formed when more than one note are played at the same time. Chord produces the harmony of the music, and it is the building block of every chord progression. So for example, if I play key F, key A, and key C at the same time, I'm playing what we call a chord. For example, another example, let's say maybe I'm playing key C, key E, key G, and key B. At the same time, I'm playing what we call a chord. Chord progressions. Chord progressions are simply sequence or series of chords played in a musical piece. They're responsible for the overall harmonic flow of the song. So for example, let's pick 4 chords. Let's pick the A minor chord, which is this, the F major chord, which is this. Let's pick the C major chord, which is this, and let's pick the G major chord, which is this. So when this group of chords we just picked now are played together in time, it produces what we call a chord progression, which is the overall harmonic flow of that song. So for example, passing chords. Now, passing chords are simply chords that leads you from one chord to another chord in a chord progression. It should be noted that they are not naturally part of the progression of the musical piece, but they are just temporarily inserted to add more beauty to the overall harmonic flow of the song. We have various types of chords on the piano, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to be dividing chords into 2 broad categories under 2 conditions. The first category is going to be on the basis of the number of notes in the chord, while the second category of classification is going to be based on the quality of sound produced by the chords. So on the basis of number of notes in the chord, we have the dyad chords, which are simply chords containing 2 notes. So for example, if I should play 2 notes, this is actually a dyad chord because this chord contains 2 notes. We also have triad chords, which are essentially chords containing 3 notes. For example, We have extended chords, which are simply chords containing more than 3 notes, which are basically 4 notes and above. So for example, we have chords like the 7th chord, the major 9th, the add 9, the add 11, and so on. But let's not go into much detail to avoid making things much complicated. So most of the time when we're holding more than 3 notes on the piano at the same time, for example something like this, we're actually playing an extended chord because we're extending it above this triad chord. Now to the second broad categories of chord, that is based on the quality of sound produced by the individual chord. We have major chord, which are essentially chords that produce a kind of characteristic bright or happy sound, for example. So you can see how bright and outspoken this sound is. In contrast to this, we have the minor chords, which have a characteristic sad or dull sound, like this. So you can compare it to the major chord, which is this. You can see this, and the minor chord is this. So you can see this is kind of a very dull and sad sound. We also have the diminished chord, which have a characteristic tensed sound, that is tension, or we can say hungry. So diminished chords have unstable sound and it's want to resolve somewhere else. So this is how the diminished chords sound. You can see this is actually tensed, and it seeks to resolve somewhere else. We also have the augmented chord, which is very similar to the diminished chord in the sense that it's also tensed and very unstable, that wants to resolve to another chord. So here are the summary of the sound of all these basic chords. We have the major, we have the minor, we have the diminished, and the augmented. Arpeggios. Arpeggios are simply broken chords. Arpeggios are formed when the individual notes in a chord are played one at a time and not simultaneously, like in the case of chords. So for example, instead of playing the same major chord which contain key C, key E, and key G at the same time, if we are to arpeggiate this chord, we are simply going to play the distinct notes in this chord one at a time. That is, arpeggios help add color and extra flavor to simple chord progressions. Diatonic chords. Now, diatonic chords are simply chords built using the notes of a specific key. For example, these are the notes that make up the key of C major scale. You can see it on screen, that is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C. So any chord we can form using the notes of this scale is what we call the diatonic chord of key C major scale, okay? Also, for example, this is F major scale, so these are the notes that come together to form the F major scale. So a chord at all we can build using the notes of this scale is actually a diatonic chord of the F major scale. Now, in contrast to this, non-diatonic chords are simply chords that uses at least one note that doesn't belong to the key scale, okay? So unlike diatonic chords in which all the notes that make up that chord must contain or must be among the key scale, for non-diatonic chords there must be at least one odd note, that is one note that is not naturally among the scale of that particular key. So for example, this is a diatonic chord in the key of C major scale. So you can see these notes I'm holding key E, key G, and key B, and all these notes are found in the C major scale. Hence, this chord is among the diatonic chords of key C. Okay, but in contrast to this, let's say I had one note that is not among the scale of key C. So which note is not among the natural major scale of key C? So for example, G sharp, which is this. So G sharp is not naturally among the scale of key C. So this becomes a non-diatonic chord if I play all these notes together. That is E, G sharp, and B. Chord voicing. Now, chord voicing is simply the various possible ways the notes of a particular chord are arranged or voiced on the piano. It should be noted that the different voicings can affect the overall sound and character of a chord. For example, we know that the C major chord contains C, E, and G, okay? So I can choose to voice this chord in different ways. That is, I can choose to rearrange the notes that make up this chord in different ways across the piano to kind of enhance the character of the sound of the chord. So I can choose to play this C major chord like this. So you can see what I'm holding right now. I'm holding C, G, and E in the higher octave. Instead of playing this E in this place, I'm playing it in the higher octave. And this is a different chord voicing. Though we are playing the same notes, that make up the chord, which are C, E, and G, the notes are arranged in different ways to produce different sound. So you can see this sound is slightly different from this. You can see this is kind of more opened. Okay, so I can even choose to see voice it like this. This is another way, because I've rearranged the notes again, although I'm still holding the same notes but in different arrangement. And that's simply what chord voicing is all about. Chord inversions. Chord inversion is very similar to chord voicing in the sense that it also involves changing the order or arrangement of the notes in a chord. But in this case, the focus is mainly on the root note of that chord. In this case of inversion, we are focusing more on the root note of that particular chord. That is, we alter the root note of the chord, which is the first note of the chord, to form different inversions. So all basic triad chords have two inversions, which is actually the first inversion and the second inversion. First inversion is simply when the root note is moved up the first time, while second inversion is when the root note is moved up the second time. So for example, back to our basic chord, let's pick F major chord, which is this. So you can see F major chord is made up of F, A, and C. So if we should invert this chord, it simply means we are going to alter the root note, which is this, the first note of the chord, which is F. So this note, we are taking it up the first time, we're going to play it in the next octave, which is this. So we've inverted this chord the first time, which is this. So this is F major chord, first inversion. So again, using this structure, the root note of this chord is simply this, which is key A, okay? So if we should move this key A to the next octave again, which is this, we've inverted it the second time. So you can see we're just altering the root note of the chord to produce different inversions. And you can see this is very similar to chord voicing. Secondary dominance. Secondary dominance is simply the fifth chord in the key of your target chord. It is a common type of passing chord. Let's say, for example, my target chord is key F sharp, which is this, okay? So let's say I want to land on key F sharp, which is this. This is F sharp major chord. So the secondary dominance chord of this key F sharp is simply going to be the fifth chord in the key of F sharp. So the fifth chord in the key of F sharp is this, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is C sharp, okay? So the major chord of this C sharp is the fifth chord in the key of F sharp. So this chord becomes the secondary dominance chord of the key of F sharp. And this chord can be used as a passing chord before landing on key F sharp. Also, another example so that you're going to understand this concept better. For example, let's say I want to land on key C. So this is maybe my target chord, which is this. So key C is my target chord. So what I'm going to ask myself, what is the fifth chord in this key? So the fifth chord in the key of C is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is this. So this is G major chord. So this G major chord is the secondary dominant chord of key C. So this chord can be used as a passing chord to get to key C. Beat. Beat is simply the heartbeat of the music. It's a constant or steady pulse that doesn't change all through the music. The human body subconsciously responds to beats of a song by tapping the foot or by nodding the head. So let me give an illustration of this. For example, this is a beat, an example of a song built on this beat. Tempo. Now, tempo is simply the speed of the beat of a musical piece. It's measured in BPM, which stands for beats per minute. Hence, the higher the BPM, the faster the music, and vice versa. So let's say we have a musical beat that have a BPM of 100. It's going to be faster than a music that have a BPM of 60, because the higher the number of beats that is covered within a minute, the faster the song. So to understand this better, let's compare different beats with different BPM. So with this, you can see the higher the BPM, the faster the beat or the tempo of the musical piece. Now, to understand rhythm, you need to first understand the term duration. Now, duration is simply how long a musical note is held for. Hence, for example, a musical note held for 4 beats, that is the whole note, has a higher duration than a musical note held for 2 beats, like the half notes. And the half notes, which is held for 2 beats, have a higher duration than the quarter notes, which is held for just 1 beat. So duration is simply how long a musical note is held for in time. Now, most often the term tempo, beat, and rhythm are used interchangeably. However, to make things very simple, the key definition of rhythm is just simply musical notes of varying duration built on a beat. So rhythm is just simply when we have a constant beat, for example, something like this. And then musical notes of varying duration built on that beat, for example. And hello guys, if you're already finding value in this video, please don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button if you've not done so, because making videos like this take a lot of time and effort to pull through just for your benefits. So thanks, and let's return back to the video. Modulation. Now, modulation is simply the act of switching or changing key in a musical piece. So let's say we are playing a song in the key of G. So this is the key of G major scale. Okay, so let's say we're playing a song on this key and we move to another key, let's say C sharp major scale. Okay, so this means that we've modulated from the key of G to the key of C sharp. So what this means is that we've modulated from the key of G, which is this, and we started playing in the key of C sharp, which is this. Okay. So finally, for this video, the last term we'll be treating is the term transposition. Transposition is very similar to the term modulation. However, there is still slight difference between these two terms. So transposition is simply changing or playing the original key of a musical piece on another new key. Okay, so let's say a song was originally sung in the key of F. Okay, and we alter the piano to be able to play this key of F in the key of C. Okay, so that is, we're kind of bringing the tones or the pitch of this key F to this key C and playing it on this new key. So we've actually transposed the music. I know this might sound a little bit complicated, but it's very simple. So we're just kind of bringing the key or the tones of key F to the key of C. Okay, so there's actually a button on the piano that helps to perform that action. So we're actually taking this key F to another key and playing it on that same key. So while modulation is simply just changing from one key to another key, transposition is bringing one key and playing that key on another key. So in simple terms, transposition is just simply playing a certain key using the scale of another key. So for example, playing key F using the scale of key C.